Good afternoon, America and all the ships at sea. Rotary is the co-founder of the South Dakota Shakespeare Festival, founded in 2011, and it's that time of year where another production is going to be presented to our state and community. We have with us today Professor Haya Gordon-Bland. Professor Gordon-Bland is the founding artistic managerial director for the festival. I can honestly tell you from personal experience, without you, there would be no South Dakota Shakespeare Festival. She has her master's in fine arts from the University of Pittsburgh. Of course, she teaches Shakespeare theater in our College of Fine Arts, but she's also an actress who has performed across the nation in such places as the New England Shakespeare Theater, the Kentucky Shakespeare Theater, the American Shakespeare Center, the Kentucky Shakespeare Festival. How about this? The Hawaii Shakespeare Festival and the American Globe Theater. She's a teaching artist, she's an actress, and she also is a rapier sword fight director. So without further ado, I would like to call on Professor Gordon-Bland to update us on our great Shakespeare Festival.
Thank you. Let me just figure out how to get loaded here. Great, we're there. Wonderful. And this is going to move me through it. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's always a real pleasure to come and kind of report in every year on the progress and accomplishments and achievements of the South Dakota Shakespeare Festival. Also, it's really fun getting to know Rotary and what an amazing organization you all are as individuals and collectively, and all of the great work that you really do to transform our communities locally and globally. So thank you for all of that work as well. What I want to share with you today is just a little bit, I'm not going to assume prior knowledge, although a lot of you have prior knowledge, but I want to share with you a little bit of background in terms of mission, history, and vision about South Dakota Shakespeare Festival, but also let you know the exciting things that are going on right now. Literally, we're in rehearsal. So the mission of the South Dakota Shakespeare Festival is to increase the cultural, artistic, and educational offerings of the state of South Dakota and our surrounding regions, and to do that through professional Shakespeare performances and arts education events that are delivered in a really lively and accessible format. Accessibility is really key to our work, and it's a complicated and layered word, and it's a word that we continue to dig into. So a key sort of core value is making this work accessible to as many kinds of people, communities, and populations as possible, and we do that in a number of ways. The sort of most obvious way that we do that is that we perform in a public space, so with co-sponsorship from the city, and thank you, I know John and Rich and probably some others are here today. We're able to be in our beautiful historic amphitheater in Prentice Park and perform in a public space where people who might not purchase tickets and go and sit in a dark proscenium theater and have their season subscription, they can sort of wander through and happen upon us and happen upon this very public event. The other really kind of concrete and obvious way that we work towards accessibility is we don't charge for any of our events. And that's probably the trickiest business because we know that it costs money to make things happen. Art costs money, but we're free because you give. So thank you very much. We also do extensive education and outreach work so that we're not just engaging populations who are already interested in the theater and already interested in Shakespeare, but we're working with younger generations, we're working with non-traditional populations, we're working with communities who might not know that there's something for them inside this work. And I would say that that's really the heart and soul of the festival, and maybe not the piece that everybody sees, but that is really crucial to what we're doing and really transforming our landscapes through professional theater arts. In terms of our programming, really the centerpiece of our programming is our production in Prentice Park. This is what everybody sees in the park each year. Again, we perform in the Prentice Park Amphitheater. It's usually the second weekend in June, and that's the piece that everybody sees. It's very exciting. It's a fully produced production. We cast nationally out of New York City, regionally out of the Twin Cities, and as well as locally, drawing actors and artists from the USD Theater program and also other artists that come to Vermilion to audition for us. On average, and there's some variation here due to weather and due to growth, so it sort of averages out. We engage approximately 1,200 audience members a year over the course of 3 to 4 days in Prentice Park. That's a big number for Vermilion. That's a number we're really proud of. And these are people that come from our local communities, Yankton, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, but also from further across the state, from surrounding states, and from states across the country and even as far up as Canada. I want to share with you just a little bit of kind of a historical overview. As Greg mentioned, we were founded in 2011, in part by Rotary as the parent company of Coyotopoly, who we had a wonderful relationship with for the last 5 years. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Our inaugural production was As You Like It. Here are some beautiful photos from that production. The company was founded by myself, Scott Mullman, who is also in the theater department, and your very own Greg Huckabee, who will always be a member of the South Dakota Shakespeare Festival, whether he wants to or not. So thank you, Greg, for everything that you have done and continue to do, seriously. And you might recognize sort of in the upper right corner there, the man in the orange doublet with the little ukulele. That's Cody Strand, who is now starring in the Book of Mormon on Broadway and in tour. So he came from us there, and we're proud of that. Also, 2012, our inaugural season, we were awarded the Best Local Production in Siouxland Award by Sioux City Journal, which was a really exciting feather in the cap our first year out. 2013, Greg left us for a year, so we only did education programming. But we came back with the full production in 2014 and did Taming of the Shrew. Commedia dell'arte influences, really fun, really physical. We also, in 2014, created 2 film projects. We did a 6-camera shoot of our production of Taming of the Shrew, a fully edited, fully produced film of that. And we also did a documentary that we called Taming Shakespeare, which was sort of a behind-the-scenes look, not only at the South Dakota Shakespeare Festival, but the theater-making process, right, and what goes into that, and kind of the fabric of making theater. And we did that in collaboration with a local filmmaker here. Maybe some of you know Chad Cable. He was the co-producer and first editor on that. And we're really excited because those films take a long time to make, but they actually were broadcast on SDPB in summer of 2016. And the Taming of the Shrew, actually, I think is still streaming. So if you were interested, you could see that. 2015, we did Macbeth. This was our first tragedy. This was our first time hiring an external director, so I could do some other things. In this case, I played Lady Macbeth, which was fun. Last year, ironically, in the scorching heat, we did The Winter's Tale. This was our first foray into some more difficult material, so a lesser-known title to sort of your average civilian audience. It was a great year for us, a banner year for us in granting, also a banner year for us in terms of diversity in our casting, which is one of our values. We really believe that the pictures and the bodies that we put on stage matter in terms of the stories that we're telling and the audiences that we're engaging. And this year, which is now, we are doing the Comedy of Errors. Perhaps some of you already knew that. Our dates are June 8th through 11th, again here in Vermilion's beautiful Prentice Park. You actually have tickets on your table, so we're free, but it's really nice to have a little reminder. So you can think of that as a bookmark, or you can put it up on your fridge, but there's a pair of tickets for each of you, so please take those with you. In this, I'm just gonna give you the little spiel about the play, because I think it's fun to hear about them, so this one is a little bit more crafted. In this early play, Shakespeare doubles down on comedy as he deals us not only one, but 2 sets of identical twins. As our hero and his comic sidekick travel to the town of Ephesus in search of their long-lost twins, they are mistaken along the way by citizens who seem to know them. As the 2 strangers become entangled in bad debts, troubled marriages, tawdry affairs, and even a visit from a witch doctor, Shakespeare goes all in with slapstick, shtick, and plenty of verbal banter, serving up a true comedy of errors. So it's fun, it's light, it's physical, it's and in spite of all of its lightness and frivolity, we're actually just talking over lunch at our table. It is still a play that I think has something to say today. I do want to give credit to our graphic designer. I think this poster came out beautifully. I'm really excited about it, and that was done by a student in the art department named Andrew Cooper. He's doing all of our graphic design this year, and our production director this year is a recent MFA graduate from USD Theater's directing program, and her name is Rebecca Bailey, and I think you'll be excited to see her work. Yeah, we'll talk more about the tickets in a minute. So the actors arrived on Sunday, and we're in rehearsal right now. We started rehearsals yesterday. This is not the full company. These are visiting actors, so we have a company of 12 actors, and I just sort of put the faces of the visitors up here, just for you can get excited and sort of see who they are. Again, we do a national casting tour, so we go to 3 sites, or Vermilion, the Twin Cities, and New York City, and we have hired a diverse company of artists that are hired from very competitive national and regional acting markets. This year we have 3 actors from New York, we have 1 from Pittsburgh, we have 4 from the Twin Cities areas, and we mix those in with 4 students who really earned their places from the USD Theater, BFA, acting and musical theater programs. Some have just graduated and some are going into their senior year. Our design team is also a mix of USD faculty, external professionals that we brought in, and USD students and alum. So it's a really nice company dynamic. Also this year, one kind of neat thing in terms of casting, we have 3 returners, so we always think that's a really nice compliment, not only to our work, but to Vermilion and the community and the experience that we're able to offer these visiting artists when they want to come back, because it's not for the money. Yeah, we pay peanuts, but we actually have, for those of you who saw last year's production of The Winter's Tale, the blonde gentleman in the lower row, Tom Connery, he was our Polixenes, so he was the brother, the king from Bohemia. Nick Manthe, who is in the upper right corner, he's actually, this is his 3rd season with us. He's a USD Theater alum, and he was the Prince Florizel last year, and he was Lennox in Macbeth, and he is playing one of the Dromios this year. And then in the middle, the brunette female on the top row, that's Stacey Lynn Gould, and she was our Baptista in our 2014 production of Taming of the Shrew. So it's really exciting for us that people want to come back and have this experience again. So the production is the centerpiece. It's what people really see. The education and outreach, I would maybe say, is the heart and soul, is the lifeblood of what we're working on and the impact we're striving to have. Our education and outreach program continues to grow. So I'll just talk a little bit about a few things that we're doing, and there's more happening every day, which is super exciting. We offer a series of theater arts workshops for youth at the Warren Emily Center for Fine Arts, and those are broken down into categories of age groups 8 through 12 and 13 through 18. And the workshops cover topics from costume crafts to stage combat. It's true, Greg, I do teach stage combat and do rapier and dagger, although I'm not the one teaching these workshops. We have workshops in playwriting, we have workshops in voice and movement for the actor, and these are taught by our company members. So they're different every year because we have different artists and different topics every year, and the workshops, like everything else, are free. Actually, I should mention this too, in case some of you in the room actually have kids or are friends with younger people. The sign up for our workshops is through the Vermilion Parks and Rec website, and the sign up is open, and even though our workshops are free, they are capped at 20, and they do fill up. So if you think that that might be something somebody you know would enjoy, I would encourage you to get on there and get your kids or your young friends signed up. We also do a lot of outreach programming, and the outreach programming is a little bit different. We collaboratively design those programs with our partner organizations. So some of the organizations that we work with, and I love that this list just keeps getting longer, but we work closely with SESDAC. Actually, I have a meeting with them this afternoon, Sanford Senior Care Center, and it's nice to see you, Mary. Thank you. You guys have been so supportive of us from the very beginning, and it's amazing. Thank you. We work with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. We've just recently started working with the Minnehaha Youth Detention Center up in Sioux Falls. We have begun working with USD's Upward Bound program, and we have a lovely and strong partnership with the Flandreau Indian School that began in fall 2015 with our school tour, and happy to talk more about that with anyone who's interested, because there's some really exciting, groundbreaking things happening that are groundbreaking in terms of national practices in theater arts. The school tour started in fall 2015. We did a very small and modest tour that was in collaboration with USD Theater, and we built it into my acting Shakespeare class as a community-based learning and research project for my students. And we worked with a few schools in the region and took performances and workshops and cultural exchange experiences, another thing I can talk more about later, into Flandreau Public School, Flandreau Indian School, and Wagner High School. And we'll be doing another version of that tour this coming fall, and plan to do that as a biennial offering and continue to expand our school partners there. Finally, in terms of education and outreach, I would be remiss if I did not mention the Scholars Roundtable, a very different slant, more geared towards academics and adults and perhaps scholars. But the Scholars Roundtable discussion has been hosted by USD's College of Arts and Sciences, I believe, every year since our inception. It's a lovely discussion where Darlene Farabee organizes and brings in scholars from around the country and sometimes internationally who have expertise in our particular play, and they lead a discussion with audience members who have either already seen the play or preparing to see the play about our particular play and some of the interpretive choices and some things that have been done in the past. And that will be happening Saturday afternoon in the park at 3 o'clock. So hopefully you can enjoy that. And again, all of this is free. Some pictures, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So these are just an overview of some pictures from our arts workshops for youth. You can see the Deb Reeves with the kids at the National Music Museum, and Elizabethan dancing in the park, and Discovery Movement Theater with the kids holding hands in a circle. It's a lovely picture. Rebecca Kelly, who's our poster child, with holding up her mask, and then I think that was a playwriting workshop. So we get kids down and dirty and involved. Some photos from our outreach programming. This set of photos is drawn specifically from a preview performance to CESDAC, and also a preview performance to the Sanford Senior Care Center. I love that one on the bottom left. That's Morgan Hooper, who played Leontes last year, having a great laugh with one of the Sanford residents. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation, but it's a beautiful, beautiful photo, and I know that he takes that memory with him. These are some photos from our school tour, a lot of wonderful pictures that came out of this. And this was a 2-day tour in fall 2015, and we engaged 450 South Dakota high school students in 2 days. So very, very thrilling. And again, we did workshops, we did performances, and with Flandreau Indian School, we actually did a full day with them of cultural exchange where they shared with us a program of traditional Native dances from a variety of tribes and traditions in traditional regalia. And we shared with them our Shakespeare performances. And again, a very beautiful and transformative experience. So there's a lot going on that people don't always know about year-round. Photos of the Scholars Roundtable. Again, every year, Darlene brings in wonderful people. If you own a complete works of William Shakespeare, and my guess is most people in this room do, you probably own something that's edited by David Bevington, who is the gentleman in the middle, the white hair and the suit and tie. And David Bevington is a very, very famous Shakespeare scholar and editor, and he was out here in Vermilion last year to talk about our production of Winter's Tale. So they're all wonderful scholars, but once in a while you get someone that's sort of famous, and I get a little starstruck. He signed my book. Going further behind the scenes, moving back away from programming and sort of talking about professional networking and development, we're always working to better ourselves and to really be offering the most innovative and best practices available in our Shakespeare production and our education work. And in pursuit of that, we are members of an organization called the Shakespeare Theater Association. It's an advocacy network for leadership of Shakespeare organizations, artistic, educational, and managerial leaders to really network, share resources, and share best practices of what's going on in the field. This has been just a completely transformative move for us to join this organization. I've gotten to be involved in really important conversations about what's happening in the field. And through this, we also have developed not only sort of individual relationships with other artists and leaders, but relationships with other companies. And notably, we have very strong relationships with 2 companies that we share a lot in common with in different ways. So the Utah Shakespeare Festival, that has a lot in common with us in terms of geography and in terms of roots and their origin story. And the New York Classical Theater, that has a lot in common with us, not geographically, but in terms of their model and what they do. They're also doing free Shakespeare in the park and really working to engage broad audiences. So I have very close relationships with those companies and have a chance to visit those companies on a regular basis. I do want to briefly talk about infrastructure because we've had some really important changes this year, and it's really kind of a coming of age for our company as its own company. So after 5 years of a really intense and wonderful partnership with Coyotopoly and led by Greg Huckabee, this year we have launched out on our own and established our own fiscal independence. So we incorporated as a nonprofit organization in the state of South Dakota this summer, and this fall we received our federal 501c3 status. which is a lot of work. And of course, in pursuit of that, we've developed a board of directors that support, guide, and implement our mission and vision. And I think it's important to acknowledge our directors. Some of these names you know, and some of them you don't. But Joshua Hofer, who's actually based out of both Sioux Falls and Freeman, former development director at the Washington Pavilion, is our president. Elijah Bondi, who many of you know for his work with the chamber, is our vice president. Evelyn Schlenker, known and beloved by all, as well as by George, is our interim secretary. Rich Holland, who's city council and sitting up front with his Comedy of Errors t-shirt, is our tirelessly working treasurer. Thank you so much, Rich. Lamont Sellers, who you probably know from his work as the Associate VP of Diversity at USD, is one of our directors. And Betty Smith, who is amazing and everywhere, is another one of our directors. So we have an excellent, excellent team. We've also received consulting work and a lot of valuable input from Sue Tuvey. So thank you, Sue. This is also a really good opportunity for me to mention, because Rotarians are people who you want on your board, right? Rotarians are like engaged and committed and hardworking and passionate. We will be looking, following our summer festival, to expand our board, probably to double it in size. So if this is the kind of thing that kind of lights your fire and that you're excited about, and you feel like you might have some space in your world to get involved, come talk to me, because we're going to be looking to grow. In terms of our staff, of course, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Scott Mullman, a co-founder and director of operations and production. Our education director is a current USD theater student, Madeline Schmidt, and our company photographer, who you might know from her work as chair of the Modern Languages Department here at USD, is Laura Vidler. And of course, none of this can happen without financial support. So I always enjoy making this slide and figuring out how to collage all these logos together. Thank you, Michelle. I got you on there. So we are in the final stretches of our fundraising right now. We are still raising money. I hate to pitch, but I'm just going to let you know, as a room full of people that are engaged, and that we are still raising money. We have raised $30,000 so far towards our 2017 budget, so we're not all the way there, and we're in the final stretch of that. So a couple things that you can think about with that. Some are small and some are large. We're doing a roundup program at Hy-Vee next week. So if you want to go grocery shopping next week, or you're already grocery shopping, and let's say, would you like to round up for Shakespeare? Please say yes. If you would like to go to the Bean on June 8th for their nonprofit Fridays, you can buy a lot of coffee on that day. And if you, as an individual or a business, would like to give in a larger way, please come talk to me. We're actually working to finalize our marketing materials at the end of this week. If you look at the tickets on your table right now, if you just pick those up and flip them over, you'll see on the flip side sponsor logos, and there's also a little date stamp, right, in the lower right-hand corner. So these are sponsor logos as of May 10th. So if you made a commitment to us after May 10th, you're not on there yet. And we want to get everybody on there. So we're going to kind of close the door on that at the end of this week and print a third and final batch of tickets that reflects all of our sponsorships, as well as our posters. And I think it's at $500 or above, your logo goes on the posters and tickets. So that's the spiel, but I just want to make sure that you know that, in case you want to be involved in that way and haven't had a chance to. And then it's, of course, crucial that we thank all of the amazing businesses and organizations that do support us, and you can see them up here, but I think it's important to verbally list them, so I will. We'd like to thank Sanford Vermillion, the City of Vermillion, the South Dakota Arts Council, the Vermillion Chamber and Development Company, Current 94.3, which is one of the newest stations of Riverfront Broadcasting, the United Way of Vermillion, Print Source, First Bank and Trust, Walmart, First Dakota National Bank, Maloney Real Estate, the University of South Dakota, and of course, Vermillion Rotary. So thank you to all of our sponsors. And then finally, I'd just like to share a little bit with you about where we're headed, about what the vision is for the future, how we're setting our bearings. The vision truly is to become South Dakota's statewide Shakespeare Festival. So we're not the Vermillion Shakespeare Festival, we're not the Southeast South Dakota Shakespeare Festival, we are the South Dakota Shakespeare Festival. We're starting to do that already in a couple of ways with our school tour and some outreach. What we would really like to be doing sooner rather than later is to have Vermillion remain as the home base for our professional production, but then to also tour it to surrounding communities, and in particular to take our productions to rural and tribal communities that do not have access to professional arts, and to really bring the work out to people that are not able to come here for it. So that hopefully that could launch as early as next year. I hope that it will. We have the infrastructure to do it. It's all about money, and we know it makes the world go round, so it is what it is. But that's on the radar, and hopefully will happen soon. The school tour, we will be continuing as a biennial offering. And then looking further down the road, we'd like to expand our repertory. So we're doing more than one play a year, so that we have actually a repertory of multiple plays, which gives us a lot more choices in how we kind of build a season and how we pair plays together. Finally, an ongoing pursuit is to continue to expand and explore the idea of accessibility and really mindfully engage in conversations about accessibility and inclusion and what that means and what that looks like, and how we can do a better job at reaching more people and engaging and empowering more individuals and more communities with the transformative work of Shakespeare. But none of this would be possible without the support of our community members, our businesses, our civic organizations on every level. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for everything that you do, not only to support the festival, but to support our community in Vermilion and the surrounding areas. Thank you. Are there any questions? Oh, thank you.